What up? It's Danny Bell, Basketball Guru. You know what time it is for BSO. Time for the final bell. Now we have the Mavs in town. No Luka. Thunder, we already know how shorthanded they are. Still supposed to be a really good matchup between two teams that played in the playoffs last year. Pretty interesting game for both squads, but let's get into it. One thing I will say about the injuries so far this season is the teams have done a really good job of competing no matter who is in or who is out. And that goes for pretty much every single team that's dealt with injuries, because pretty much every single team in the NBA this season has dealt with some type of injury to a few key players. And the Thunder were no exception of that tonight. The Mavs were no exception of that tonight. They both kept the game really interesting. The Mavs came into the game really hot. Really, PJ Washington came into the game really hot. He's still on the heater from last year's playoffs, but the Thunder still fall. I mean, the Thunder were right there, just could never really just get over that hump at any point in the game. They did have a lead for a little bit, but the Mavs took it right back, and the Mavs would build their lead. Thunder would come back, and it was just that back and forth all game. And the Thunder, like I said, the Thunder just could never really get over that hump at any point. But let's talk about how they lost this game. This one was pretty simple and obvious if you watch the game. I mean, there was a pretty significant size advantage for the Mavs tonight, and you just really can't discount that. They stay on the floor with two 7-footers at all times. Came into the game with Maxey and Dwight Powell, so that was a factor. I'm not saying it was the biggest reason why they lost, but that was definitely a huge reason why they lost. I mean, it is what it is. The Thunder have no bigs on this roster, but that can't be the biggest excuse. But it was a huge factor. But then also the offensive glass. The Mavs had too much offensive glass, and I feel like that was more of an effort thing. Obviously, they have the size, like I just mentioned, but I felt like the Thunder could have gave a little bit more effort on the offensive glass or defensive glass for them, and getting out rebounded by damn near 30 is just unacceptable. No matter who was on the floor, just like I said, just a little bit more effort, and some of those threes were backbreakers. There was a three where there was a 5-point possession for them where Dick Lively gets a and one, goes to free throw line, misses the free throw, then they get a three on it. So just can't have things like that. And then I felt like the point of attack defense was a little shaky for most of the night. Mark Daigneault talked about how since they don't have any bigs, they kind of try to keep guys from getting to the paint, keep guys away from the rim, because the closer you are to the rim, no matter how big you are or how small you are, then it's easier. It's an easier shot. And then the further you're away from the rim, it's a harder shot. Obvious, right? Yes. But I feel like the Thunder, just their point of attack just was not there for most of the night. Guys were, for the Mavs, were getting to their spots a little too easy. Could have been a little bit more physical with PJ Washington, just bump guys off their spots a little bit. They did hit some really tough shots. Kyrie specifically hit some really tough shots, but could have been just a little bit better in their point of attack. And that's just really the thing. They could have been a little bit better in the point of attack, offensive rebounding, and the game might have turned a different way. I mean, you only lose by 2, which is kind of an indication on how the game went. Like I said, the Thunder got to the point but could never get over that hill. And that was just, if they would have just done a little bit better in those aspects of the game, they might have come out with a win. But let's talk about who the player of the game is. I feel like until Chet comes back, most of these nights, for the most part, are going to be Shea or Dub are going to be the player of the game. There are going to be some nights where somebody steps up or has a career night, but for the most part, I think they're going to go back and forth. And tonight is Shea's night. 36 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Did a really great job of just getting to his spots and letting the Mavs know they couldn't really guard him. I mean, he hit some really tough shots. Some and ones that didn't even get called, but man, he just a phenomenal night from Shea. It really sucks that they couldn't get this win out, but just another game where he just filled stat sheet, where he stepped up and where his team needed him, gave them a chance the whole night, kept them in the game a little bit, but just wasn't enough for the Thunder tonight. But you lose some, you win some, and this was one they lost. It was the end of a 6-game homestand. You have the Spurs coming up on Tuesday. So that was another interesting game where the Spurs have Wemby, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the Thunder guard him. Wemby hasn't really been dominating in the paint the way most people think he should. He's taking a lot of threes. He's hitting a lot of threes, but it's going to be a very interesting game to see how the Thunder defend Wemby. But Until then, this has been the Final Bell, the NBA Basketball Guru.